I'm the Paranoid King. This is the first knockout round of the Guardian Angel tournament, where I got 5th place. More information about the tournament is in the description below. Let's see what I could have done better. Usually, I just look at items in carousels, but in the Star Cluster Galaxy, especially early on, I probably don't want to immediately sell a 2-star unit, so I look for good combinations of items and champions. Fiora is an excellent early game unit and can hold items in a Cybers build, as she is easy to remake. Gloves are perfect for this, as the build does best with Last Whisper and Infinity Edge. This early, I want to make as many 2-star units as possible, so 3 copies of a unit is great. Unfortunately, I don't have enough gold, so I'm hoping for gold or a unit to drop from an orb. I locked the shop since I still want the Ziggs and the Malphite next turn. I think a guaranteed 2-star is better than another possible pair. I do get a unit, so I need to quickly sell the Annie, unlock, and buy the Ziggs. I should have picked up the Malphite with the extra gold, since I already have a 2-star Fiora. I think the best move here would be to pick up the Caitlyn and the Twisted Fate for Chrono, since I already have 2-star Fiora and 2-star Ziggs. With this start, I'm looking to get more Cybers or Rebels to start getting my synergies online, since right now I have 2 2-star units, but they don't really go well with each other. I definitely should have kept the Leona, since I have a 2-star Cyber unit, and Cybers is I think the best early game strategy. The strongest board I could make here, I think, would be to sell the Ziggs and the Fiora, level, and put in Caitlyn and Twisted Fate. Or, if my opponents have lots of frontline units, I could put in Illaoi and Kog'Maw for Battlecast. It doesn't make sense to put the Yi in yet, since I only have 2 Rebels and 2 Blade Masters instead of 3 of each of those. I think it's okay to keep him, since I'm thinking about going Rebels eventually, but at every round in the game you want to think about what the strongest board you can make is, and having him in now doesn't give me the strongest possible board. Vanguards are extremely common in the current meta, so Last Whisper is a core item for most builds. I should have used the bow to build this item on the Fiora. This might have actually helped me win this fight here, since I'm going up against Vanguards. This shop gives me 2 pairs, but still no strong synergies with what I have. Hopefully soon I will get some direction for where to take my comp. Otherwise, I will start to lose to people who have upgraded units and synergies. I did build the Last Whisper right before this fight, which definitely helped since I was going up against Vanguards, and it was already so close. Multiple times now, I've been in positions where I'm regretting selling units. I could have had 3 Rebels the last 2 rounds, if I'd picked up the Malphite, and now if I hadn't sold the Leona and the Caitlyn, I could have 3 Cybers with 2 Snipers. Given what I do have though, for my strongest board, I should put in Xayah for the Illaoi to get 3 Blade Masters, which is in fact what I do. Selling the Vayne was a mistake, since I have a good setup for Cybers, and she is the carry in that comp. If this were a normal galaxy, I would look for a belt or a sword to combine with the vest I already have for Red Buff or Guardian Angel. But, since this is a Star Cluster, the Yasuo is too good to pass up, since he will let me run Blade Master and Rebel synergies, and he's already 2-starred. I don't need to level here, but it's not a terrible idea. Putting in the Malphite is good, as it helps strengthen my weak front line. I definitely should have put in Yi over the Xayah, as he is objectively a better unit, plus he benefits from the Rebel Shield. Now that I have my synergies in a better place, my priority should be econing, only picking up units when I really need them, and trying to get to the next interest levels. This shop gets me a replacement Fiora, but I don't really need that since I'm not running Cybers. The only reason to build the replacement would be if I wanted to keep her in the final build, but get the Last Whisper off of her. Since I'm going Rebels, I'll just sell her when a better unit comes along. I do want the Zed though, so what I should have done is bought the Zed and sold the Fioras and the Xayah. That would put me at 19 gold. If I lost, I could also sell the Illaoi. In a Rebel comp, Jinx is the carry, and the best items for her are Red Buff and Runons. Giant Slayer got reworked this patch, and is now a much more situational item. It's good if you're going against lots of 3 stars or other high health enemies, but not always. I was lucky and got a belt, so now I can build red buff. I just need to get some actual blasters in there though. If I put the Yi in for the Xayah, I can add in Ezreal and put the red buff on him. Red buff isn't quite as good with only one blaster, but it's better than having the components sit on the bench, and this sets me up to add in Lucian at level 6. I can also sell off some of the units I don't need, getting to 30 gold. I see my first 4-cost unit, and level up just to put him in, despite Teemo having no shared synergies and just being 1 star. This was a bit of a panic play, as there were stronger moves available to me. I would be far better off if I played the 2 blasters with the red buff. While 4-cost units are stronger than lower-cost units on their own, that doesn't mean that they are stronger than lower-cost units when those lower-cost units have both synergies and items. Here, I did a lot of crazy switching. I lost Rebel and Blade Master synergies to gain Chrono, and generally just upgrade my units to higher cost ones. I won the round, but I definitely need to put some synergies back in there if I want to keep my board strong. If I'd put the Master Yi in instead of the Fiora, I could at least have kept the Rebel buff. That would have affected my positioning though, so perhaps the better move would have to put in the Lucian instead of the Fiora to have blasters to make the red buff do the most benefit. There's a Jinx in the shop, which is great, because then I can get both blaster and rebel synergy and don't have to put in the Lucians, which isn't a great unit. The belt isn't the best component for her, but it could become a trap claw, which will decrease the odds of her getting eaten by an Urgot in the late game. I definitely pick up some units I don't need here, but the board I put out is my strongest. I'd like to get another upgraded unit soon, as Fiora is definitely not nearly as strong late game. I can sell most of my bench units. I want to keep the Yi and the Malphite. The Blitzcrank isn't bad to keep too, but if I sell him, I can hit 40 gold. I played this well in terms of what I sold and what I kept, although I could have done it a little quicker to leave me more time to scout. I got to 40 gold, which is good, because I'm definitely going to need to do a lot of rolling, as a lot of my core units are still 1 star. The final build I'm looking to make is Yasuo, Yi, Jinx, Malphite, Ziggs, and Zed for the 6 rebels, then Ezreal and Riven to provide Blaster, Chrono, and Blade Master synergies. I get a second Jinx and a second Ezreal here, so I have a bunch of pairs of units that I want to go into my final build. My goal is to econ up, get to level 7, and then roll down to hopefully 2-star all of my core units. I get the components from Aurelos, which I put on the Wukong until I can find an Aurelian Soul. Since I haven't even found one Zed yet, I will probably run the Aurelian Soul over Zed in this game. In the meantime, I definitely need to build up my front line, as it's too easy for my opponents to get through to my squishier Jinx and Ezreal. Leveling up here and putting in the Irelia gives me all of the synergies I will eventually run. With this many pairs, I think it would have been better here to do some rolling as well for a bigger power spike, since I already dropped below 50 gold. This would allow me to transition into 6 rebels faster, and to take out some of the weaker units like Fiora. I decide to keep at 50 gold here, and so rather than just sitting on my board, I should be taking this time to scout and really think about my positioning. Since Jinx has the Trap Claw, I should put her and the other 2 rebels all the way in the back corner, keeping Fiora up front with Wukong to be some semblance of a front line. This would keep the Jinx more protected. I should also pick up the Yasuo instead of the Blitzcrank, because I want to get the items off of him and I can only do that by remaking him. Currently, my Jinx only has a defensive item, so I'd like to get a component that could go into an offensive item. Here, the sword is the best pick. I do a little bit of scouting here to see what builds other people are running, to see if I'm contested. With this Zed in my shop, I can now run 6 rebels. I definitely want to 2-star them though before putting them in, so now is the time to roll down. I decide to prioritize leveling instead, which isn't the worst, but it means I'm probably going to lose a couple rounds. With Riven available, I think the best move is to level to 8, switch in her and the 3 rebels, then roll down for as many 2-stars as I can. This build doesn't need to go to level 9, so I can afford to roll all the way down here, plus I can sell off the units that I'm currently running that I no longer need. By putting in the Blitzcrank, I end up being very close to not having enough gold for the Riven, but luckily I win the match and get up to 34 gold so I can stay at 30 while still buying her. With 2-star Yi, things are looking pretty good. I can run the Riven over the Irelia to have 4 chrono until I get my other rebels up to 2-star. I should have stuck with that plan and waited, but I decided to get to 6 rebels here instead. By doing this, I lost some frontline strength by taking out the Wukong. I also don't have a great holder for the Morellos for Aesol without him. Another mistake I make here is putting the Zed on the opposite side, since he doesn't have the rebel buff if he's not next to the other rebels. Having 2 burn damage items on the same unit is a bit redundant, since the burn damage doesn't stack. The way that I'm scouting here to look for the enemy carries for where to place my infiltrators is normally a good move. Here though, because Zed is a rebel, is unfortunately not the best positioning. I would have to move the other rebels to that side as well, to get the optimal use out of it. I could go to level 9 with this comp to add in Gangplank or Gnar, but I think a better option would just be to stay at 8 and use my gold to try to 3-star Jinx or some of my other rebels. There is one other person running Jinx, but she only has 3 copies, so it is still possible to 3-star the Jinx. I pick up the Zephyr here, but I think it would have been better to take the Riven. With the Bramble Vest on her, she would be a great unit up front at 2 stars. The Aurelian Soul also would not have been a bad pick, although the ZZ Rot isn't the best item for him, since he usually survives till the end of the fight, and doesn't get above 1 star. I spend a bunch of gold this turn to level, without a clear idea of what unit I'm going to put in. This is definitely a mistake. I think going for 3-star Yasuo, Yi, or Jinx, or whatever other rebels I find, is a much better option. Soraka is a pretty good choice of unit to put in here for the 9th unit, as she will help my team have much more survivability, which is good since in this game I'm just trying to get to 4th place so I can advance in the tournament. I keep the Riven in the back so that she will Zephyr hopefully one of the carries, but I think it might have actually been better to have her in the front so she can take some aggro as well as Zephyring one of the higher health units, because Jinx does best once she kills off 2 units, and having her attack units with lower health will have her reach her ult faster. Frozen Heart will definitely go onto the Zed, since the enemies that do the most damage will usually be in the back, and he jumps straight to the back so he can hopefully slow down the enemy's carry. This late into the game and with this low health, I definitely want to be scouting here to see where to position. I'm looking for who to Zephyr, as well as threats such as Blitzcrank or Shroud of Silence. I also want to put my team on the enemy's weaker side. Unfortunately, I wasn't well positioned, and this team was much stronger than I am, so I got out in 5th place. Thank you for watching. For more TFT analysis, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next video. If you learned something, leave a like, and comment if you have any suggestions. Thank you.